What is happening, y'all? True Evil here, and with today's Blue Protocol Star Residence video, we are going to be talking about what you should be doing this week in anticipation of next Monday. Because next Monday, we're getting a whole lot of new content. What I'm looking forward the most is going to be the Nightmare Raids, but what are we going to be doing until then? And the answer for that for a lot of people is going to be catching up on your ability score, because if you've been looking at World Chat, basically it is mandatory to have a 20k ability score to join any random party. And I could talk about how ability score doesn't really matter. If you have an 18k ability score and you really funnel in on your DPS, you can out DPS someone that has, say, like a 21k ability score. But that's not the whole point of this. The point is well, people don't know how much DPS is if you're a random, so you need to have that ability score, unfortunately. So we're going to talk about how to raise this up, and I'm a great person to watch for this right now because I just got back from a 2-week vacation in Japan where I couldn't play, and I started off on Sunday when I started playing again at 14k, and this is my end of my Monday, and I am at 20.5, I believe. Yeah, just a little bit over 20.5, and I'm going to tell you how I built up my ability score, and we're also going to talk about how to build your score up in terms of doing the most damage possible if you're a DPS versus just fluffing up your ability score, because it's going to just like, you need the ability score to join the party to get certain gear. So we are going to talk about how to fluff it up as well. So without further ado, let's start with what I did first. The first thing I want to talk about is something I didn't even know it was in the game, but when I started doing my dailies after the first time in 2 weeks, I was getting these reclaim tokens, and they are currency for a shop in the season hub, which is basically like a catch-up mechanic. So I was able to get some materials that I missed out on, which was super important. So definitely recommend to buy everything you need out of this shop, because it's really going to help you propel. And from this, I got the heavy alloy shards to start making the level 60 gear, because I started everything off with just full level 40 gear. So that level 60 purple gear was definitely what I needed to start farming for the yellow level 60 gear. After buying out all the shops, you want to go and use your advanced books, and here we're going to talk about the difference between maximizing DPS and maximizing ability score, because it is different. And what I mean by that is that if you want to do the most damage possible, you're going to want to get tier 6 bullseye, and then tier 6 wild call, then tier 6 focus, and tier 6 storm arrow, and you want to leave the other 3 skills at tier 0 because they're not going to give you nearly as much DPS as those skills maxed out. But if you want ability score, I did level up tier 1 luminary bolt, tier 1 arrow rain, and then I got to tier 5 storm arrow, and I saw the difference with ability score, and you will get a lot more ability score if you level up luminary bolt, arrow rain, and torrent volley up to like tier 3 instead of just like going for the tier 6 storm arrow. So that is something to consider. I didn't go for that because I still want to be maximizing DPS, but it is definitely an option if you are low on that ability score. So just wanted to mention that. I don't recommend it, but we are going to be talking about things because, well, people aren't letting you in the parties unless if you have 20k ability score, and you can do most of the content at 18k right now. So it might be worth it to fudge your score up just a little bit. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you have gold level 60 gear, and that means you're going to want to be doing master dungeons. And the problem with this is most people aren't doing dungeons right now, and if they are trying to do speed clear M1s to get cosmetics, so they want someone with a 20k ability score. So that's going to be really difficult if you're trying to get the gear to get that ability score. How are you supposed to get into a dungeon? And what you do is you're just going to do it with bots. And you might think that this is a bummer, but it's really nice because, well, the bots do the mechanics, so you don't have to worry about people failing. So that feels really nice, but unfortunately you can't do like the little ways to make the dungeons much quicker than they should be, like in Dragonclaw Valley. So that is a little bit of a bummer, but you can still do the dungeons. And I actually recommend going from like M1 to M2 to M3 to M4 and try to do that on all the dungeons, because you also want to raise your master score. And the reason for that is because people, even if you have like a 19k ability score and they're asking for 19k, they're going to see like a 300 master score and not accept you. So I did this for about an hour and a half, just like doing all the dungeons. I did all of them to like M4 and a couple of them to M5 until I had 2k, and then I stopped because it was just a little bit too much. But you're going to be getting those first clear gold boxes, and by the time you finish doing this, you should have level 60 golden gear for everything, and then you can move on to the raids. Before we talk about raids, which will be the biggest topic of this video because of a lot of things, we're going to talk about refinement for a little bit, because this is the true end game of Blue Protocol Star Residence, in my opinion, which is, if you miss like a week's worth of focus like me, you want to know what's the best way to go about this. And if you want to be doing the most DPS possible, of course, you're going to be focusing on getting the refined attacks all the way up they can be. But if you are trying to get your score the highest it can be, I did play around with this, and I think the best thing to do is just get everything to level 10 and then bump up all the weapon scores to 15, and then go back and do the armors to 15. I think that's going to be the real way to go about this. I don't necessarily want to get all of these up to level 10, but because of the refined like level 10 boost, it's definitely going to be worth it in terms of boosting your ability score. So in anticipation of next week, so I bet they're going to be saying you have to have like a 21 or 22k ability score next week. I am definitely just going to be leveling all these to level 10. So all of my focus is going into this, besides a little bit of focus I'm going to be using for guild cargo. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in this video is raids, because this was definitely the hardest part of my Monday, which was, if you look here on the Void Relic Exchange, you need 4 of these pieces to get the set bonus, and this is going to really make or break getting to that 20k ability score for a lot of people. But the only way to get this is from exchanging with alloy shards, and the way you get alloy shards is from the raid. The problem is that people aren't accepting people in the parties unless if they have a 20k ability score, and you need this gear to get 20k ability score. So it's sort of like a catch-22. I need these pieces by doing the raid, but I can't do the raid because I don't have the pieces. So what are we going to do, True Evil? Well, I tried to get into a party for 40 minutes with an 18.8, couldn't get into anything. So what I ended up doing was, we talked about at the beginning of this video, and I recommended making sure you have 2000 master score. And the reason for that is because, well, we're going to be making our own party. You're going to set up a custom party, 20-man, and you're going to recruit in World Chat. Because if someone joins in on you and they see a 2000 master score, they're not going to look and be like, I wonder if he has a 20k ability score. They're going to see that 2000 master score and be like, this guy is going to be a cash money party leader. So you're going to have to set up your own thing, because you can't be gatekept out of your own group, right? You can only be gatekept out of other groups that people make. So I had to do this, and it actually went really, really well. We were able to do all 3 of the raids and only wiped a couple of times because people didn't understand Bone Hard, but that was the tank's fault, not necessarily my fault. So if you know the mechanics, and if you don't know the mechanics, highly recommend watching a YouTube video to figure them out. They're pretty easy, but if you don't know exactly what you're doing, it can be a complete group wipeout. So definitely recommend checking in on that. But making your own party is going to be the way that most people get in. And of course, it's really funny because I am seeing people right now with like a 17.9 20k ability score recruit for these hard raids and are demanding everyone to be 20k, which I think is really funny. But, you know, that's just the name of the game right now. If you don't have the score, be the leader. So definitely do that. And if you do all of these things, I do believe you can get a 20k ability score, because I was able to get 20.5, and hopefully by the end of this week I'm at 21k, and then next week happens and we'll see what the minimum requirement is going to be to join a party from World Chat, and I'll make a video then to figure out what we need to be doing. But hopefully this catch up video is going to help a lot of people out so you can really enjoy the awesomeness that is Blue Protocol Star Residence. Let me know if this was helpful in the comments and hit that subscribe button.